Hey girls, it's Birdie. Welcome back to my channel. This is Clown Cows. Our dainty genius Amberlynn Reid. Or is she? Today, I wanted to take a gander at something that I think has been playfully or jokingly looked at before, but I wanted to try a new approach from a new viewpoint. Many have laughed at Amber's mispronunciation of words and her childlike behaviors and concluded that she's just trying to fit in with the TikTok trends. But what if that's not exactly what's going on? Let's consider something different. Is it possible that Amber behaves like an unruly child because she has arrested development? Did she simply stop maturing mentally? Does she look, act, and dress like an overgrown prepubescent because mentally she kind of is? I've seen behaviors from Amber that are consistent with a woman who never reached expected mental, emotional, and intellectual milestones. She has even infamously stated that in her head, she's still 17. The thing is, she's not. She's nearly 35. But, of course, if anyone calls her 35, she gets mad, and she argues that she is not 35. Like a small, uneducated child, Amber gets hung up on words and misses the main points being made. She gets grumpy because she's only 34 3/4, just like she gets an attitude about being 2 pounds less than her suspected weight. She's not realizing that the point is that she is old enough to know better, and she is fat enough to know that she is risking her life. 34 or 35, 598 or 600, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. But Amber isn't mentally able to understand that seemingly because she gets mad. She argues. She acts smugly, and she throws tantrums. According to people who know her in her real life, she's always thrown tantrums when she didn't get her way. Is it due to entitlement, perhaps? Maybe the entitlement is potentially linked to immaturity and or a low IQ. If we look at how very young children behave, they can express selfishness. Maybe they don't share their toys, or maybe they behave in a stubborn manner or throw temper tantrums. It's because they haven't matured. They don't have the emotional or intellectual understandings of those things yet. But I wonder, does this also explain some of Amber's behaviors? I was talking to my husband about Amber and my intentions for this video, and he brought up an excellent point. When we went back and forth on the ways Amber comes across as being of very low IQ for her age or being intellectually like a 12-year-old, he said, just look at how kids are with wanting pets that they cannot take care of themselves. And so the parents end up having to care for those animals, or someone else ends up having to care for the animals so that the animals don't suffer and die. And I told him that is so correct, because Amber loves to collect animals at any cost. Rest in peace, Gracie. But she has never been capable of fully caring for those animals herself. Her past partners have always carried the extra responsibility of taking care of Amber's animals, because Amber couldn't. From Amber not changing litter boxes to her using pee pads for the dog, her partners have always been the ones to care for her animals. It's like having a child that gets a puppy, then the parents end up having to care for the puppy. The difference is that these small children are learning to prepare for their future as caregivers and as adults. Amber's been an adult for a long, long time, but she never learned. Just think about it like this. Amber was 33 when she left Wisconsin, and she was so daft she took 3 scared animals knowing They were not microchipped, not vaccinated, and they weren't even wearing collars, for God's sake. And she took them 20 hours away from what they knew as their home so that she could get fingered by a feeder. And because of Amber's own irresponsibilities and lack of mental and intellectual maturity, her cat presumably died. So I searched the question, how can I tell if an adult is of low IQ? And here are some screenshots of what I found. Let's quickly go over these to see if we think any of these apply to Amber on a regular basis. I don't want to say yes if it only applies to her on a very rare occasion. So let's see which ones actually apply to her constantly based on what we've seen of what she has chosen to post. Difficulty recognizing patterns. I would say this is a yes for Amber because she seems to have a hard time realizing that when she does A, it's going to lead to B every single time. And whether this is the pattern of leaving the door open and a cat going missing, or whether it is the pattern of her binging every night and then gaining weight, Amber seems to have a very difficult time recognizing patterns. Low adaptability. I would say yes to this for Amber as well because she is so dependent on others. She does not seem to be able to adapt to situations without someone being there to hold her hand. Making frequent mistakes. I'm going to say yes, but I'm also not going to say that this is solely an Amber thing. I think that we all can make frequent mistakes. Slow to adapt to change. I would say yes for Amber. I don't know that she ever actually does adapt to change because, again, she is so dependent on others, it's really hard to say if she's capable of adapting to change ever. Difficulty accepting criticism. Absolutely. This is where Amber will throw temper tantrums, flip people off, swear at people, and just go basically insane on her live streams if she receives any type of criticism whatsoever. Emotional sensitivity. This would be a big yes. Amber is probably one of the most emotionally sensitive people I've ever known, and this also goes into the difficulty with accepting criticism. People who are emotionally insecure or emotionally sensitive do tend to have a more difficult time accepting any type of criticism, even if it is constructive. So I'm going to say yes for Amber. Everyday task struggles. This one's almost laughable when you think about it because Amber has not reached any of the milestones or benchmarks that she should have reached as a nearly middle-aged woman. She cannot take care of herself. She cannot wipe herself. She has a difficult time even brushing her own hair or washing her own hair. And this is at least according to things that Amber has said in the past on her videos, as well as what her partners have said. And since she was at a smaller weight at that time, I can only assume that her being at a heavier weight now, since she has said that her weight does cause her mobility issues, that her everyday task struggles would be even worse now. And if you didn't watch my video yesterday, I do the mathematical breakdown of the numbers that Amber gave 3 months ago when her scale was broken, and I come up with the mathematical conclusion as to what her true weight was based on those numbers 3 months ago. So that just had a little bit to do with task struggles because I do believe that her task struggles are somewhat related to her weight, of course, as well as being related to just her low IQ in general. Okay, the next is lacking in curiosity. I do believe that Amber is a curious person. So I'm not going to say that this is one that I would attribute specifically to her, but I will say that I don't think she can go from her general curiosities to the execution of anything. I don't believe she's intellectually capable of thinking it and then making it happen. Okay, trouble solving problems. She has a very difficult time solving problems, but I believe that she is able to come up with unique ways of troubleshooting and then solving those issues. And when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about the washcloth on the edge of the sink. So that's problem solving that personally I would have never thought of. I would have just lost weight so that I could take care of myself. But then again, I'm not Amber. Okay, limited vocabulary. Amber has shown us that she has the vocabulary of maybe, I was going to say a second grader, but honestly, my children started reading sight words at 3 years old and they have wonderful vocabularies. So I don't even know what age group I could realistically put Amber into, but she absolutely has such poor vocabulary. I have personally questioned before, is she actually literate? Is Amber truly literate? Okay, empathy. Amber does not display that she is a very empathetic person. So I'm going to say that one would apply to her. The next is inability to understand simple concepts. Yeah, that goes into the patterns. She doesn't seem to understand very, very simple things and what the outcomes of those things could be if done incorrectly, such as carrying her pets across the country, not microchipping her pets, not putting a collar on her pets. These are very simple concepts that Amber doesn't seem to be able to get. Decision making. I would say that Amber has a more difficult time making decisions just because she's very indecisive. If you've watched her videos for any length of time, she'll say that she's doing something, and then sometimes within the next 10-15 minutes, she'll have already stopped what she said she was going to do, or she'll change her mind and say, actually, I just said I was going to do this, and now I'm going to have to think about it. I'm not so sure. So Amber has a difficult time making decisions. Lacking in critical thinking skills. Absolutely. Amber cannot think critically to save her life because if she could, I can guarantee you right damn now, she would not have half of those videos up that she has up because they actually make her look like a horrible person and with potential legal ramifications coming for some of the things that Amber has said, some of the things she has accused people of, and just some of the maltreatment she has displayed on camera on her channel for the entire world to see. She has filmed herself mistreating and being abusive to others. So I believe if Amber could think critically, A, she would have never posted those videos, and B, she would have never left them up. Okay, and then the next one is black and white thinking. Now, she attributes this to her uh, BPD. She says that she is splitting, which BPD splitting, she talks about it as if she's trying to say that she has DID, which is dissociative identity disorder. When she talks about splitting, she says that she's a totally different person. She's looking at herself from the outside of her body, not realizing what's going on. She's actually describing what in psychology we used to call multiple personality disorder. Well, the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Illness, 5th edition, calls it dissociative identity disorder. And splitting is something that's attributed to, with BPD, it is specifically attributed to that black and white thinking, where something is completely good or something is completely bad. But when we hear Amber talk about splitting that she associates with her BPD, she talks about it as if she is having a multiple personality. She talks about it as if she has this alternate ego that is coming in that she cannot control and that is taking over her body. So I'm not exactly sure what she thinks is going on or what she thinks she has because it's very confusing. It's almost as if she is confusing dissociative identity disorder. So I'm not really sure what Amber's thinking. But Amber and the black and white thinking, Amber has herself said on multiple occasions that she does see someone as all good or she does see someone as all bad. Very black and white, nothing in the middle. And so, yes, I'll definitely say that Amber has difficulties with that one. And the last one is lack of humility. I don't think anything about Amber is humble. She tells us regularly that she's better than us, that we should appreciate her, that we owe her. She shows a complete and total lack of appreciation for what her critics and her supporters have given her over the years. Amber just acts like she is owed the world. She acts like everything should be given to her freely. She should never have to earn a thing, and she appreciates none of it. As a matter of fact, she will degrade you and flip you off after you have given her something. So I would say Amber has absolutely zero humility whatsoever. So the culmination of it all, and there were a lot of things that we just went over in these two lists. Amber, in my opinion, absolutely qualifies as someone who behaves as if she has a very low IQ. Okay, so now let's take a quick look at the link between immaturity and a low IQ, if there is one. And y'all can help me decide in the comments because this may be where we disagree. I personally believe that maturity and IQ are directly linked to one another or directly associated with one another. However, many experts will say that there is not a direct link between the two. Okay, so let's take a really quick look at the AI overview of this question. Are maturity and IQ related? Here's what it says. Intelligence and maturity are two distinct traits that are not necessarily directly related. Intelligence refers to cognitive abilities such as reasoning, problem solving, and learning, while maturity refers to the development of emotional and psychological stability, judgment, and experience. Okay. In my opinion, when someone is mature, it means that they possess the skills of emotional regulation, the ability of sound judgment, to make their own choices without anyone else's help, to discern between the good decisions and the bad decisions based on their personal experiences and what they have seen of others who were in similar circumstances. And then there are other psychological elements such as handling criticism or even bad news. When I think about intelligence, I think about cognitive functions, the ability to critically think, infer outcomes, notice patterns, and the ability to rationalize and reason with oneself and others. And then there are the other elements of learning because that's what intellect is. It all goes back to the ability to learn. So, if someone has a low IQ, we know from reading the above that they do often lack in some fundamental elements of processes that directly lead into cognitive development or learning, or the impairment thereof. So, I do believe that the two are heavily associated. But again, if you see no link, sound off in the comments below and let me know. So, to conclude, I'm thinking that, based on my own opinions, Amber's lack of maturity and her seemingly very, very low IQ, in fact, do go hand in hand. Or, as Amber might put it, they go together like salty and sweet. But what do you think? Does Amber have a very low IQ? According to Amber, her IQ is 140 and above. Do you believe that? Or do you believe that her IQ is low? And most importantly, do you think there is a link between someone being immature and them having low IQ? In other words, if someone is immature as an adult, and if they have not reached those benchmarks or those milestones, do you think that could potentially be linked to their intellect? Again, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear all of your opinions. Again, I am an expert on nothing. Everything that I have said is based completely on my perceptions, views, ideas, and observations of publicly accessible information that was made public by its owners. I may be understanding these things incorrectly. I'm not claiming to be accurate. Nothing that I say is factual. Please ask an expert if you have any questions, and I hope that I will see you guys all again next time. See y'all later. Bye, guys.